Hey there guys, Crystal Thompson here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have the amazing collaboration between, you guessed it, Bee Stamps and Simon Says Stamp. So we are doing a brocade heat embossing. I would like to do a happier card, but I felt that it was so needed to do a sentimental card. And so for this, I'm going to be using the On My Mind stamp set. I have this awesome blue-green piece of cardstock. You're going to need some gold heat embossing, all the accoutrements for your heat embossing, a misty. I'm using the regular size for this. I have my stamp ready from the Honeybee Stamps, and I'm going to start by getting some cornstarch onto my cardstock. And the reason why is that we're going to be doing a ton of heat embossing, and this will really make it so much easier. It's going to prevent any sticking, any staticness that can hold on to that fine detail powder. Going to bring in the Simon Says Stamp watermark and embossing ink. We're going to cover the entire stamp. And this awesome honeybee stamp has like a cutout in the center, which will allow you to put in your sentiment or cut it inside. We're going to begin by adorning the corners of the cardstock. And as you can see, I have a very nice heat embossing ink. We're going to bring in that gold fine detail powder from Simon Says. And this is why I use the cornstarch, is because it is such a fine powder that it can stick to everything. And so by using some cornstarch, it removes that staticness and anything that might be holding onto it. And that's what it looks like. I'm just going to turn this around, and then I'm going to heat emboss the other corner. So again, we're going to repeat the process, bringing our watermark ink, stamping that down onto the stamp, or inking it down to the stamp, and then bringing that up. And I was like, you know what? I need to bring this a little further to the center just so it covers it. And then pressing down, allowing my cardstock to absorb that ink, and then I can put down the heat embossing powder. And so if you've never worked with heat embossing powder, think of it as glue that it dries a little bit slower, and it allows you to put on the powder, and then the powder is going to be heat set with the heat gun, and it's going to melt it. Once it's fully melted, you have this beautiful look. What I'm going to do, as you can see, I left my stamp set in the same place. What am I doing here? I'm going to do the other corner. So as I'm adjusting the cardstock down, so I get a full, kind of like a full edge of it, and I ended up overlapping it just a little bit, but I thought it was just fine. I'm not going to do that bottom right corner that you see, because we're going to bring in another piece of embellishments here shortly, and you don't want it to be too busy. So we're going to repeat the process from the other two embossing corners that we did, and just making sure that I have it fully ready to go. I'm going to lift that up, bring in that heat embossing powder, and then heat setting this again. And honestly, I didn't wait to do this third one along like I did with the other ones, because I didn't want to rub off that embossing powder off the cardstock. So I'm going to heat set and come back. All right, look at that pretty. It's so nice. I'm going to set that aside, and I have a piece here of vellum, and I love heat embossing vellum because it's so delicate. It's really quite pretty. So we're going to, again, leave the stamp set in the misty, and we're going to bring it down to the vellum. And I totally forgot to bring my cornstarch. So here it is. I have a little IKEA bowl and my brush, and I just brush on the cornstarch, and it makes it really easy. And if you don't want to do this and have just a bowl of cornstarch, go get yourself an embossing buddy, which is the same thing, or you can use baby powder. It just smells a little bit better. But it all serves for the same purpose, is removing any static. I'm going to press down and just making sure that I got the full circle of the flowers. And I really like this stamp set. It's quite pretty. I know the Simon family is going to be making some amazing cards, and I wanted to make something easy, something that wouldn't take too much coloring, right? So we're going to bring in that gold again, and we're going to sprinkle it over, and then bring in that embossing powder back to the container. And this container is available on the Simon Says Stamp store. And we're just going to repeat the process. We're going to get this fully covered, remove that heat embossing powder, and bring in your gun. So I'm using the old school Wagner gun. I'll try to preheat it if I can. And as you can see, look how cool it turns metallic, and it's just pretty fabulous. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. And if you see that you're kind of missing some of the shininess, that means you need to heat set it there. So be sure that you get the entire image, and then we're going to move on to trimming this. All right, so I'm gonna bring in my scissors. I'm gonna start trimming around the edges. I'm gonna speed this up. I normally don't cut this fast. And we're gonna just follow the edge of the entire circle. If you have the availability to go grab the dies that are coordinating with this, go do it. It's gonna save you a ton of time and it just makes it nice and clean. But if you cannot, you can fussy cut it just like I'm doing. And I wanted to show you the full process because I wanted to show you how easy it is to fussy cut if the dies end up selling out. And this is such a pretty floral image that I think it's going to sell out. The stamp set is going to be gone very, very soon. So as you can see, I kind of folded it just a little bit and cut the inner part. So there we go. It's fully trimmed up and I have my green cardstock ready to go. So I want to place that So Sorry kind of in the center of the card. However, I want to frame it with that circle of vellum. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to position it here. I kind of get an idea of where it needs to be. So I'm going to bring down my lid. I have the edge of the cardstock corner to the edge of my MISTI, and I'm going to lift up. You can use your magnets or some tape to hold down the cardstock. I'm just going to be a little rebel and wing it. I'm going to bring back that Simon Says stamp, heat embossing ink, watermark ink, stamp down that So Sorry, and back to that gold heat embossing powder. We're going to cover that So Sorry and heat emboss it again. If you have any extra or anything that kind of got left around, use your fingers or a brush to remove it. And I'm going to heat set this. And my gun's pretty warm already, so it does it pretty quick. And now we are ready to assemble that vellum piece. So I have some gold glue, gold paint. You can use gold watercolor, and we're just going to flick this, and this is going to serve as an embellishment. And we're going to flick, flick, flick. And this is a Heidi Swap product. It's no longer available, but Altenew has a version of this that you can use. Or like I said, you can grab some watercolor, create a medium, and then splatter it around. I have added pieces of foam to the back of my vellum cut. And then like I mentioned earlier, we're going to add that circular frame to the So Sorry. And look how pretty, very simple, yet it's not, right? It's very gold and very cool. To finish this card, I'm going to use the Pretty Pink Posh, and these are crystals, and they're actually quite pretty. I like these jewels, and so these come in two sets. So it looks like a diamond on one side, and the other side has the gold. So I'm kind of alternating the gold and the diamond look, and it just really finishes the card and adds a little more elegance to it. And I think it's really a pretty sympathy card if needed. And guys, that does it for me. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. We are using Honeybee Stamps in collaboration with Simon Says Stamps. Go grab the stamp set before it sells out. We'll see you guys later. Have an amazing day.